In another video, we saw how we could use the Morph Modifier to create phonemes and mouth shapes in order to animate a face to look like it's talking or moving. We can also do that with any other object that we talked about, as long as the vertices don't change for that Morph Modifier. Today we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to use a bone-based setup. So here I have a character that's already been skinned, and I have all of these dummy objects that are standing in, and I'm using them as bones, and I've skinned the character for all of these different bones. So I have nostrils and eyes and eyebrows and all sorts of things. I also have some controllers that are going to allow me to automate a little bit more of this process to make it a little bit easier. So for example, I've got a controller set up to allow me to blink, and I've got a controller set up to allow me to move eyes together and a jaw. So those are set up, and the videos on how to set these things up, like the slide manipulators, and this is also a manipulator, but it's a custom manipulator called the Joystick Manipulator. And that's not default in 3ds Max, it's a script, and if you want to find that, you can find that on ScriptSpot or any other 3ds Max script site. And we won't go over that in this video. We'll just say that these are here to help us control these bones. So to do this, we're going to do a lot like we did with our Morph Modifier. We're going to create phonemes or mouth shapes, and then we can use those to animate. And here we can also bring in audio if we want to, and animate to that audio. The difference between a Morph Modifier and a bone-based system is that with the Morph Modifier, we have for this example, we would have a head that was different shapes. We would have several different ones, so one for every thing that we wanted to be able to morph to. With a bone-based system, we're just going to manipulate these bones. We're going to move these bones. So I already have some set up, as we can see. I've already got it doing some things, and all I'm doing for me is I've selected the bones that I want to manipulate on what keyframe, and then I manipulate them. Now another thing that's really useful is I can add a time tag to each one of to whatever key that I want to. So if I want to quickly go to a key or remember where a key is, then I can do that as well. So let's do that real quick. Here I have like a shape that's just a basic resting shape for my character, and then I have maybe one that's a little bit happier, maybe one that's a little sad. Here I have like an A shape for my phoneme or mouth shape, and maybe an N and an F. But let's go ahead and do another one. Let's maybe do like a B sound, a B or a P or something like that. So first, let's go to, I'm going to go to frame 12, -12, and I'm doing this below 0 so that if I wanted to animate from 0 to something, that I could always have these keys here as a reference. So if I needed to bring in a sad face, then I could select the bones, and then I could copy the key to wherever I needed it to. So that's kind of why I'm going to put these references on these keys. All right, so here I want to select all of my face bones, and I'm going to do that in my Scene Explorer because it's a little bit easier for me to do it this way. So I'm going to click center brow all the way down to upper lip, and I'm going to actually copy frame 0 because I want to have a regular face to start with. So let's first key these, then I'll paste to 12. All right, now the issue is that I also have my jaw control, I believe. Yeah. So let's also copy my jaw control. There we go. Now we're going to do a B. So with our B, our lips are going to be curled in a little bit. And I'm doing this mainly so that we can see how we can manipulate these keys to build phonemes. So it might be, I'm going to try to keep it short, going to try not to bore you. Just going to show kind of how it's done. So we're going to get maybe this lip curled up under a little bit. Do the same thing with this part of the lip. It's going to rotate. Bring this up. As well as the corners of my mouth, I'm going to rotate them down a little bit and bring them down. Okay. And I'm going to basically go through each bone and ask myself, what does it need to look like when I'm doing this mouth shape? So I might not have anything with the eyebrows. I might not have to do anything with the eyes. I don't want them to blink. I don't have to blink in order to say B. But what else do I have to do in order to say B? So I'm going to select these and bring them in as well. And sometimes it'll look a little funny until we get them to be where we want them to be. That's okay. Bring this down a little bit. All right. Now I think I'm having pretty good luck with a B. And we're going to bring our nostrils down just a bit. Have a little bit of motion in the face. And maybe a little bit right under the eyes. When we open our mouth a little bit, our skin in our face gets pulled a little bit. So I'm just kind of represent that by taking those cheekbones and moving them down. And maybe here with the cheeks, maybe bring those in and down a little bit. So we've got kind of a B sound going on. Okay. All right. So I want to be able to remember this frame here and find it whenever I want. So what I'm going to do is go to Add Time Tag, click on that, and you can see the tags that I already have and what frame they're on. So I'm just going to say Add Tag, and I'm just going to put B. Click OK. And now if I ever want to go to a time tag, let's say I want to go to my sad face, then I can just go to that time tag here and click on sad, and it will automatically take me to the keyframe that I tagged for sad. That's really helpful if we have several different frames that we're using for our phonemes or our mouth shapes, so that we can quickly reference them, or we can go straight to that keyframe and select whatever bones we want and copy and drag them wherever. So like we did with our Morph Modifier video, we can take those phonemes and then try to build an animation that represents the sound that we would bring in. So if we had a person talking, instead of having to go to each one and try to represent that mouth shape for every frame that we want to animate on, well, we can build the mouth shapes ahead of time and then just use those. We can also blend between them, because our mouth shapes, we might say a P or a B, but it may not look exactly like this. Now let's click on the B here. It may not look exactly like that B. Maybe we want to have a smiley face, or maybe we want those cheeks up a little higher. But we can use it as a base for our animation. So what I would say is, if you have a face that's already rigged, or if you can find one, then I would play around with that. And you can look at references online to find mouth shapes or phonemes, and you can base your animation off that if you want to, but play around with it. Get comfortable with animating both the Morph Modifier or the Morph targets and a bone-based system. So until then, have a lot of fun.